Do you ever find yourself missing old Minecraft? Maybe you're like me and your start with this game was back on the Xbox 360 13 years ago. Well, the last few weeks I've been working on a playthrough of a mod pack that seeks to bring that nostalgia and mix it with current Minecraft, Reminiscence. We'll go through the performance, progression, downfalls, and highlights of the mod pack as per usual. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe and comment for the algorithm, or if you have any suggestions for other mod packs you'd like to see in this series. I also stream on Twitch and have a Discord if you're interested. Now, let's talk performance. So funnily enough, I upgraded my setup when I was a good part of the way through this mod pack, which makes my impression of the performance a little odd. So before the upgrade, which was me going from an Intel i5 10th gen to an i9 12th gen, I was hovering around 150 to 200 FPS with some variation but never really dropping below 100. Post upgrade, I was at crazy levels like 600 to 800, which is super unnecessary, but basically this pack performs pretty well overall. It's not super heavy as far as modded content goes, and in my opinion it's best played without shaders and with smooth lighting disabled, so that also helps a little bit. I didn't notice any crazy world generation lag either, which is nice, especially considering we have amplified nether. Excuse you? So this mod pack's gimmick is making you feel like you're playing beta Minecraft while giving you access to features that are in modern versions, including new biomes, mobs, blocks, and well, performance. When I spawned in, I did genuinely feel like I was in beta, which is great for triggering nostalgia, especially in folks like me that have been playing for so long. The main challenges the player now faces are not being able to sprint, old combat, so no shield to compensate for the lack of movement, food not being stackable, but it immediately restores health, so that's a bonus, and there are no enchantments and villages are removed as well. Now, don't let me lose you yet. We'll go over the more in-depth thoughts I have on this later in the video, so stick with me for now. This is just going over the progression, my opinions will come later. You do keep your hotbar, armor, and baubles on death, which is something I quite like a lot since it helps make death a bit less punishing. In a mod pack where your movement capabilities are worse due to not being able to sprint, I feel that's somewhat needed. Also because of how valuable inventory space becomes due to food not stacking. As far as genuine progression goes, it's Minecraft. You can ultimately do what you want. This progresses very similarly to vanilla, with the challenges I mentioned earlier being present. Outside of that, we have the addition of the Aether mod, which is such a funny thing considering I remember being one of those kids that experienced this, and a lot of you probably did too. Also, we have End Remastered, which that and the Aether I'd say are the two mods that have the most impact on player progression. No enchantments means we have toolsets with innate abilities, which is one of my favorite things, which I talked about in my previous video, which if you haven't seen, I have a whole playlist of mod pack reviews you might want to check out. We'll go over the toolsets super quickly so you know what's what. Leather armor gives you a buff to movement speed, chainmail armor gives a bit of projectile protection, copper tools will give you fortune, golden armor will give you luck and has buffed stats almost to diamond level, but still with the durability. Golden tools also will give you silk touch, diamond armor gives you a bit of blast protection, and diamond tools have efficiency innately. Tungsten armor has fire protection, and both the armor and tools have unbreaking. So that's about our base armor progression. There are other armors within the mod pack, but I'll leave that to you to explore. Personally, I went with obsidian armor, that was what I got, but whatever. We also have a few options to solve inventory bloat, sacks and backpacks, which is something I love to see. I'm a big fan of both, particularly the sacks. I really love, you know, I'm a loot goblin, I love having them. And finally, the last thing I want to touch on for things that majorly impact progression are structures in the base game dimensions. We have Young's structure mods, which are always fun to explore, though I will say getting through the stronghold is super tedious, especially without having sprint or a minimap, but it's just not my favorite redone structure from that mod in general. The nether has amplified nether, which is a great mod. I do really love the way the nether generation is done with that, although I was definitely not loving the old netherrack texture, but I committed for the video. The old textures are optional, but I felt they were necessary for this pack to truly trigger that nostalgia factor. If I had the option, I would revert the netherrack texture though, it's just that bad. The Ender Dragon fight was actually amazing. I loved it. They have this overhaul mod called True Ending Ender Dragon Overhaul, and it is genuinely so good. We'll talk about it more in a minute. The fight becomes a lot more interactive, and I will say she takes a bit too long to perch sometimes, but it's whatever. Now let's get into my actual, more personal opinions. We'll start with areas I think this pack could improve in, and then we'll go into what I think the highlights are and what I want to talk about as things I really liked. The first major issue I have with this pack is sprinting being disabled, but the game being built for a player that can sprint. This sounds a bit weird, but let me explain with 3 key points. A lot of the young structures have parkour challenges and bits I couldn't do simply because I couldn't sprint. Flat out, that's an issue. I'm not entirely sure what the fix would be for this, since I haven't personally worked with young structure mods for a mod pack that I took seriously. Honestly, my only thought is that maybe a dash could be a good route, like a dash or a dodge key, but that would totally be up to Bali on if that fits his vision for the pack or not. Fighting the Aether bosses felt near impossible in some cases because I couldn't move properly. It made the fight with especially the Sun Spirit feel super drawn out because getting to the ice ball was really difficult and really weird and took so long. Although I do acknowledge this is mainly just the Aether bosses being weak designs in my opinion, but that's a whole different video. And finally, the pack has End Remastered, which forces you to explore. I love End Remastered. It's a great way to get players to interact with aspects of the game they may not normally interact with, but I don't feel it's implemented as well as it could be here. Horses are so slow, the boost given by leather armor isn't great, so boats became my main mode of transport, which is fine, but I feel maybe a buff to horses is in order since exploration is so heavily emphasized, but sprinting isn't enabled. I also feel it's a bit strange to keep swimming at such a high speed, making it faster than walking, though I do definitely prefer having it enabled versus it being disabled. Moving on from movement, I feel the eyes rely too heavily on RNG in some aspects, which can really cage the player, though a lot of them being craftable is a very good way around this. I think all of them should be craftable in order to give the player a way to access them in the case that they can't find the respective structure they're meant to be in. If the eyes are craftable but the blocks are super biome dependent, I think maybe a biome compass would be a good thing to implement, because I did run into an issue where I simply wasn't finding the biome that I needed. Also, sorry for veering off a little bit here, but I never found a single dripstone cave in this entire playthrough. I found some dripstone blocks, but they spawned really weirdly underground. So I don't know if that's an issue with the biome generation, but I didn't find a single one, and I played this mod pack for a very long time. Getting back on topic, if they aren't craftable and only spawn in specific structures, you need a structure compass. This type of RNG can be good for games, but it only serves to frustrate your player when you tie it into core progression, such as beating the game. So that's why I would propose a compass to still encourage exploration, but make it so others don't have to travel thousands of blocks only to still not find the structure they need like I did. It took me a horribly long amount of time to find a pyramid so that I could get the suspicious sand to get the little ceramic eye. The Ender Dragon fight also felt amazing, but very drawn out because of some of the weird AI with the dragon where she wouldn't perch for several minutes at a time. I'm not sure if that's on purpose, but I just thought I'd mention it because it was something that got on my nerves. So this next bit is a bug I was experiencing during my playthrough, but the dev is aware. I spoke with him privately and sent him clips of it, and this actually just reminded me I need to send him some other stuff about it and forgot. Sorry, Bali. But due to a bug with the configurable death mod, the items that I was supposed to keep on death were just being deleted from the world. Like, I wouldn't drop them, they'd just completely vanish from my inventory and world on death. So what I wound up doing is disabling the mod and playing with keep inventory on, which is what I would recommend for now until a fix is found for that mod. And I say disable it because even with keep inventory on, your items do just delete themselves. Last bit of criticism I have revolves around what I think is an unintended interaction between sacks and backpacks. So when you have multiple sacks in your inventory, you become encumbered. However, you don't become encumbered with multiple backpacks, which is totally fine, especially because backpacks cost more to make, so I understand, except for the fact that you can shove sacks into your backpack, which negates the effect entirely, and gives you a lot more inventory space. Personally, I love it because I'm a loot goblin, but this makes inventory space a lot less valuable when this pack seems to really be trying to drive home how important it actually is, especially with food not being stackable. So let's get into what I loved about this pack. First of all, I think it's a great mix of nostalgia and modern Minecraft. This isn't an easy task, and it's a very fine line to walk, but this pack does a very great job so far. It does a very good job of staying faithful to old Minecraft while also taking liberties that really do improve the experience. As I mentioned before, I love that in place of an enchantment system, I have tools that do different things. It makes gameplay a lot more intentional since inventory space is meant to be very valuable. The aesthetics are on point, and I love the effort put into retexturing almost everything to make it fit the vibe of the pack. I also really loved the addition of Farmer's Delight and seeing how well it fit into this type of pack. It's great at inducing that liminal feeling we all know and love from old Minecraft, and for that I give it a lot of praise. At first I was confused as to why my cows were disappearing, but I think that animals just reset every day unless they're ones the player bred or hatched, which is really nice since I didn't have to worry about accidentally killing all of the local populations. As much as I harp on the End Remastered mod having issues with RNG caging the player, I do feel this pack does a good job overall with most of the eyes. I love that a lot of them are craftable, although I do really think a biome compass is needed at minimum, but what I really love is that they're integrated into Aether progression. This was my first real survival playthrough of the Aether, and the only time I've ever killed all the bosses in one world, where I previously had only ever killed the slider. I have killed the other Aether bosses, but it was on a server where I had like way OP armor. This was when I was encountering them at the level that I was meant to encounter them. I definitely learned that I am not a fan of the Aether mod, but I do think this is a great way to scale the progression. The player can't go to the end and get an Elytra without first beating the Aether, which is something to help stop the epidemic of players getting insanely powerful before even venturing into modded dimensions. Though I do think they should maybe be a guaranteed boss drop, because I had to kill like 5 sun spirits to get one of the eyes, since that dungeon only spawns with one chest. This Ender Dragon fight is probably my favorite version of the fight that I've ever done. The dragon now has different phases where the attacks get more difficult, and the way the dragon charges at the ground and creates a shockwave is just so much fun. It's a bit difficult to time the dodging, especially as someone who's still used to having sprint abilities, but really fun nonetheless. I will say, if this pack is your fixation for a good amount of time, you probably will get used to it, but I am playing through multiple other packs at the moment, so unfortunately that hindered my ability to get used to the movement. Either that, or maybe it's a skill issue. I really liked that it told me how many crystals were left. That was really nice, and the music for the fight was so f***ing cool. This is the first pack I've played in a long time where I left the music on all the way through, and it made it feel that much more special. Overall, I think this is a fun pack with a lot of potential, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. I know I will be following development on it, and thank you to my commenters for putting it back on my radar. It was actually submitted in my Discord by the dev a while back, which is why I gave it super priority and reviewed it next, despite having other packs in my queue to review. Bali is super pleasant. I loved speaking to him privately about some of the bugs I was experiencing, and I'm really excited to look into what other projects he has. I don't think this is a pack I will explore with a more long-term world, but I did overall enjoy my experience in it despite the frustrations that I had. Thank you for watching. If you have a mod pack you want to see, feel free to comment it down below. I'm trying to keep to reviewing mod packs that are under 100,000 downloads. As of reviewing Reminiscence, I believe it was at about 33,000. Just trying to bring more attention to projects that definitely have a lot of effort and deserve a bit more notoriety. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, I have a whole playlist full of mod pack reviews, although I will say the more recent ones are better, but that's just because I just improved on my editing and review style. Anyway, thank you so much. You have a good day. Bye bye.